The artist's skill is proudly displayed in the variety of poses and rich anecdotal detail. While complex and diffuse, the composition cleverly guides our eye from group to group. Strangely, Christ's baptism is set in the midground, signaled only by the burst of heavenly light above. The painting's subject is not the visual focus, and we have to draw out its meaning for ourselves, leading to deeper engagement. Bloemaert found the subject of the baptism of Christ conducive to his compositional style and specialty in religious history painting, and he painted it at least 3 times. The light color palette, emphasis on human anatomy, and reuse of figures from earlier compositions make this a very late Mannerist painting with some classicizing elements. 2 smaller paintings of the same subject dating to the early 1600s provided motifs and poses of figures for Bloemaert, who often repeated elements from his own works.
So long ago, Israel came to inherit this land by crossing through the Jordan River. And God gave them a responsibility. They were called to serve him alone, to love their neighbor, and pursue justice together.
And we know from stories in the Old Testament that they failed at this repeatedly.
Right. So John's calling Israel to start over, to go back through the river and come out rededicated to their God, ready for the new thing that God's about to do. And so it's within this renewal movement that Jesus first appeared.
Jesus is baptized by John, and the sky opens up, and a voice from heaven says, "You are my son, whom I love. With you I am well pleased."
Now, God's words here are packed with echoes from the Hebrew scriptures. This first line is from Psalm 2, where God promised that a king would come who would rule in Jerusalem and confront evil among the nations. And then this next line is from the book of the prophet Isaiah, and it refers to the Messiah who would become a servant and suffer and die on Israel's behalf.
After this, Jesus goes into the wilderness for 40 days with no food, and that's roughing it.
And in this story, Jesus is replaying Israel's 40-year journey through the wilderness, where they failed to trust their God, and so they rebelled. But Jesus succeeded by resisting temptation and trusting God. And so this story is marking Jesus as the one who's going to carry Israel's story forward.
Abraham Bloemaert was born on Christmas Eve 1566 in Gorinchem to Cornelis Bloemaert and Elke Willems. Shortly after Abraham's birth, Cornelis, a highly esteemed sculptor, architect, and engineer, moved the family to 's-Hertogenbosch in the southern Netherlands to assist in the restoration of the St. Jan's Kirk, which had been damaged in the iconoclasm of 1566. The Bloemaert family stayed in 's-Hertogenbosch until around 1571, when they returned to Gorinchem. Abraham's mother died in Gorinchem sometime before 1576. By that year the family had moved again to Utrecht, where Abraham would remain for the rest of his life, albeit with a few short interludes.